Sometimes I have flashbacks back to, when I had that normal 9 to 5 job and working 40 hours a week, and it scares me so much, and sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night screaming. Alright, that's enough of that. Hey, it's Jordan, the Millionaire Millennial. I hope you liked that excessively dramatic introduction. But on a serious note, I am going to be talking about why working a normal 9 to 5 job is actually one of the riskiest things that you can do. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to give you 4 reasons why having a 9 to 5 job is actually high risk. And the last reason I'm going to give you is actually the reason that I ended up leaving my job. So the first one is kind of a reason that a lot of people would expect, maybe a little obvious to some people, but is the fact that you only have one income source. And when you're working a normal 9 to 5 job, you get paid most of the time every 2 weeks, and you get the same paycheck, and you use that paycheck to pay your bills, pay your expenses, mortgage, rent, whatever. And if those were to just go away because maybe you got laid off or your company went under, or the hundreds of other reasons why you could lose your job, if that were to happen, you now have this much money coming in every month, right? You now have $0, but you still have those expenses. You still have to pay your mortgage or your rent. You still have to put food on the table. And that's a pretty big risk. And most people would find that counterintuitive because you're told as a kid and as a young adult that you need to get a good, solid, steady paying job that gives you paychecks every week. And as true as that can be for some people, having just one income stream is not the way to go about it. So even if you enjoy your job, even if you like your job, you still need to have other places to make money. You still need to have other things bringing you income, because layoffs happen. Even if you're a great employee, even if you get 100s on all your performance reports, there's a lot of non-performance layoffs that happen every single day to people that aren't expecting it. And these are based off of maybe company downsizes, companies getting bought out, companies going under entirely. So even if you have a good company, you're a great employee, you can still get laid off. And now I'm going to give you a very disturbing statistic. A statistic that I thought was false when I first started, and I actually spent a long time researching it, finding out if it was actually true, because I was so disturbed by it. And that statistic is that 70% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. So take a step back and think about it for a second. 7 out of 10 Americans have less than $1,000 saved. Most people's monthly expenses exceed $1,000. So if you lose your job and you're unemployed now, you only have $1,000 to pay those bills. You're now doing what? You're going to look for your friends and family to help you pay your bills. You might end up filing bankruptcy. You're going to take a job at McDonald's just to get by. Is that something that you want to do? Probably not. And that's why I consider having a 9 to 5 job one of the highest monetary risks, because if you were to ever get laid off, most people don't have enough in savings to actually support themselves. So I recommend that you have at least 6 months to a year in your savings to fulfill those expenses if you were to ever lose your income. For example, if you spend $3,000 a month, you should have at least $18,000 in savings. And I know for a lot of people, $18,000 is actually a lot of money. And so to have that kind of money in savings is pretty hard. So maybe you should think about picking up another income stream, working on the side somewhere, doing a side hustle or something to pick up a little extra money so that you can save and not have to worry that if you were to lose your job, you're probably going to lose your house and not be able to feed your family. That's not something that you really ever want to have looming over your head. By the way, if you're enjoying this video and you find it informative, don't forget to subscribe, because I put out videos like this all the time. Maybe leave me a thumbs up, drop me a comment, tell me what you think, and that really helps me a lot, and I appreciate it. So the second one is something that most people might not think of, and that's the fact that you are not in the position to ever try anything new. And I'm going to pin this one on the education system, at least here in the United States, because we're told when we're 16, 17 years old that we have to decide what we want to do for the rest of our lives. Because at that age, we have to decide where we want to go to college, what we want to study in college, and then what we study in college inherently affects what we're going to do in a career. So at the ripe young age of 16, 17, when our brains aren't even fully developed, we're not even thinking straight, we're already making a ton of bad decisions, we now have to make one of the most important decisions of our entire lives. And that is one of the stupidest things that I've ever heard, and that's why I kind of want to just pin this whole reason on the education system. But in reality, we still have to live here, and we still have to go through that education system and make those decisions. But we need to kind of reform. We need to reform our education system here in America, for sure. Because when you get out of college and you start your career, you're stuck there, right? You can't just be like, oh, I don't really like this career. I like college and I like learning about this, but now that I'm actually practicing, I don't really like it that much, or it's not fulfilling, it's not what I thought it was going to be. And I hear this kind of stuff all the time, and you are probably a person that's fallen victim to this, is that you maybe enjoyed college, or maybe you didn't enjoy college, but you get to your career and you're like, this isn't what I was expecting, this isn't what I want, this isn't fulfilling, I don't like this job. But guess what? You're kind of stuck there because you got two options. You can either go backwards, go back to college, study something else, get into even more debt, get out of college, and then maybe realize that you don't even like that job either. Or you go backwards and get a job somewhere else trying to climb a ladder. Maybe you start at McDonald's as a cashier, hoping to one day be a manager. And that's not really a process that anybody would want to go through. But when you don't have a normal 9-to-5 job and you've got your multiple income streams coming in, you can leave your job at any time. You have the power to just walk out and know that everything is going to be okay financially. You don't have to worry about paying your rent, paying your mortgage, feeding your family. Maybe you just get bored. Maybe your job's not fulfilling. Maybe you're just not happy at that job as you used to be. Maybe you'll work there for several years and enjoy it, but eventually you might not. But guess what? You're still stuck there because that's the only place that you can really make an income. That's what you've been doing for years. That's what you went to college for. That's what you're good at. And so you don't have that option to just walk out of your job and go do something else, go do something that you think is more fun or more enjoyable, more fulfilling. And if you're older and you've been in a career for a while, you'll know this is 100% true. After a certain amount of time, you just kind of get bored of your job and you want to do something else, but you can't because you now have a family to feed. You've got kids, a spouse, a mortgage, car payments. You can't just up and leave your job just because you want to, right? Just because you want to find something more fulfilling, just because you're not happy in your job. And it sucks to have just one job because if you get stuck somewhere in a place that you don't like, then that's just it. You're just stuck. You can't really go anywhere. You can't go do something else. You're stuck in that field doing a job you don't like to make money so that you can, afford to just feed your family. So this next reason is kind of short, so I won't babble on about it, but you don't have the ability to achieve your financial goals as quickly. So what do I mean by financial goals? I don't mean like, oh, let's go buy a brand new Lamborghini or, buy a huge mansion or something like that. I mean smaller goals. I mean, maybe you just want to buy a new TV. Maybe you just want to buy a new cell phone. Maybe you do want to buy a new car, but, maybe not a super high-end car. But these are goals that you can't obtain as quickly as you could if you had multiple income streams, because you're growing your income and you're able to afford things more quickly and you're able to save for things more quickly than you would if you had just a normal job. So the last reason is the reason that I left my job, and it's because of the risk of, it's more like mental health. Okay, and that's because most jobs become very monotonous over time and you end up doing the same thing, right? You wake up at the same time, put on the same clothes, go to the same place, see the same people, and effectively do the same job every day for, 30, 40 years, and then maybe you have enough money to retire. Having that kind of life just didn't really mesh with me very well. I didn't want to wake up 20 years from now and be like, man, what have I done my entire life? What do I have to show for accomplishment? Am I fulfilled in my work? Do I enjoy my job? These are all questions that I didn't want to have to answer someday, so I just left. And, most people, they live for the weekend, right? They are always looking forward to Friday when they get off work, and then, Sunday night's a dread fest because they're like, oh, tomorrow's Monday, I gotta go back to work, it sucks. And I didn't want to live in that monotonous cycle of, enjoying the weekend and hating the work week, enjoying the weekend and hating the work week, and going back and forth, whereas I would much rather just enjoy every day like it was a Friday, right? Just enjoy every day like it's the weekend. When you have a normal job, you can't do that, right? You can't just up and go somewhere and travel the world and go do something that you want to do on a work day, because you have to go to work. And definitely over time, I think that can like kind of eat away at you and corrode your mental health in a way that you kind of become jaded, especially towards a lot of different people. You know, and I didn't want to turn into that. I didn't want to become that kind of person. And so I didn't want to take that risk of the fact that I might become like that one day. And so that's why I ended up just walking away from my job, starting entrepreneurship, and I haven't looked back since. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was informative. I hoped it maybe helped you out, helped you to see something that maybe you need to do in your life to maybe add another income stream or find a more fulfilling job. Or maybe you just hate your job entirely and you just want to quit. But as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.